Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. I know from statistics that just under half of people don't watch all the way through videos. There are two bits of information I want you to hear if you watch this, and I'm going to put them right in your face from the get-go. Number one, no changes was the right idea, it just kind of didn't happen. And number two, changes should be a serious consideration for WoW Classic, but should seek to solve modern issues, not emulate gameplay or inclusions of mechanics from later expansions. Now, if you'll stick around, I'll tell you why I think this. Also subscribe, that'd be great. I've spoken about the no changes idea a bunch of times in videos, and today I'm going to give it a bit more focus, especially when considering moving forwards in the game. No changes was the right idea, the notion behind it had the right idea, it sort of just didn't happen. And the longer the game's gone on, the more and more we've drifted away from it. And I know, more negative stuff, but drama channel much. Fine. I think the tier gear looks good. That's the weekly quota for positives met. Let's get back to the video. A lot of loud and very popular voices touted no changes as the way Blizzard should roll out Classic, and I believe the strong majority of people were in favour, especially when it came to recreating an experience that was true to vanilla and an accurate representation of the game back then, with all its flaws. Also dating back to my first ever video, I thought a big reason behind the whole notion around no changes was just that people didn't really trust Blizzard. Legacy servers had been such a long time coming, with the famous "you think you do, but you don't" being a thing since before Warlords of Draenor came out, and Classic was announced early November 2017, at which point we were at the tail end of Legion and coming into Battle for Azeroth. And as I'm looking at each expansion and what changes they caused, by this point in the game, many features had been added that were by and large considered negatives: LFG, LFR, flying, and so on. The concern that Classic would be changed was at the forefront of the community's mind, that Blizzard would add bits on from later expansions, stuff that was very well received, and actually would add convenience to the game, stuff like the currency or trade goods bank tabs, dual specializations, the barber shop, but no changes. If it wasn't in vanilla, we don't want it now either. You see, the thing is, we can try and create a game from 2007, but we can't go back to 2007. Classic can't be vanilla, however hard it tries, and it's full of changes, like absolutely packed. No changes, to be fair, did its job in making sure nothing completely wild was added to the game, and I think we've ended up with a very enjoyable game overall because of it. There are a lot of great points to it. Could it be better? Sure, I think so. Spell batching isn't working out so well after all, in my opinion. I did a full video on that if you're interested, which I'll link below. I think the respecking cost could be changed specifically just for Battlegrounds. I'm not the biggest fan of pre-mades being in the same queue as pugs. Maybe saying, whoa though, what's with all these change ideas here? What happened to no changes? Well, Classic tried to be a remake and it ended up being more of a remaster. It's been about 8 months now, and you know what happened to no changes? It just kind of didn't really happen in the first place. And note that not all of these changes were down to Blizzard, some are just an evolution of how people interact with games nowadays, but it's a combination of both things. Some bits of the game were released on the 1.12 patch, which was the final major content patch of vanilla, some didn't. We have talents and itemization from this patch as well, which make our characters across the board considerably stronger. This is a strong reason raiding is such a breeze at the moment. Our level 60s feel like twinks heading into Molten Core, and if I were to give you a rough estimate, we feel at this point in time we are around AQ 40 levels of power, and there won't be a huge challenge for many guilds until Naxxramas itself, whereas in some cases we are missing things from 1.12, like certain spell penetration items such as the ring reward from Alterac Valley, even though mages have a talent that grants spell pen for the same reasons. Dismount at next Flightmaster wasn't in Classic. We have Cataclysm era raid frames. Rather than adding all party frames to your UI, we have modern macro functionality, which enables us to make many tasks easier and more convenient. The graphical updates that have been introduced. We have loot trading. Exploits, glitches that weren't severely detrimental were removed, like wall jumping. We have 1.12 Alterac Valley, aka nerf to the ground Alterac Valley. Modern add-on functionality and integration. Server size, even the average server is 3 to 4 times larger than even the biggest vanilla server was, meaning we needed layering to start off with, which changed up many things within servers, especially after its removal, the frequency of world PvP, competition, and then we've just got the sheer number of mega try-hard players these days, pacing of the content being rolled out, and our prior knowledge leading to hoarding of many items, modern meta on efficiency, buying boosts for leveling, seeing Hand of Ragnaros and Thunder Fury all the time like it's no big deal. Blizzard quite literally changing battlegrounds to try and stop pre-mades and griefing, such as removing battleground queue numbers from Alterac Valley and removing the exit portals in Warsong Gulch, publicly available information and guides. We don't have the LFD functionality from innkeepers or meeting stones, and there are so many other small and large details other than this that make the game fundamentally different than vanilla ever was. Many people compare Classic to various private servers that have been played, and at the end of the day I think we do need to have some degree of faith in Blizzard's reference client. Even though very popular private servers may have been harder overall in terms of leveling or dungeons or what have you, what we have at some points may be easier because that's how it was back then. Other things are easier because of the 1.12 changes made. Personally, I always have a bit of skepticism whenever somebody says X didn't work like that in vanilla. After all, it was 15 years ago, and if your memory extends to mechanics in an MMO 15 years ago, well, let's just say that's pretty impressive. I think a lot of people who claim various things didn't work like that back in vanilla say it because they compare Classic to private servers, or they just read it or heard it about it somewhere, and as we all know, if you search something on Google and it's the top result, well, it's pretty much law at that point. Though no changes didn't really happen in Classic WoW, I think it was important as a movement purely to encourage as much as possible. Nothing included which considerably changed the social aspects of the game. Classic has had many changes. In some ways it's a better game for it. In others, the retention or attempt to recreate certain gameplay mechanics from 2007 have made the game worse. Purely artificially worse because that's how it was back then. And let's face it, that's what we asked for. But I believe after 8 months, a rational person would think it wouldn't be out of order to reconsider something that had been requested. And personally, now more so than ever, I think changes would be very beneficial. Take this example. Imagine you ordered modifications to your car from a workshop, changes to the engine, suspension, and so on. And upon receiving it back, it's great. It looks exactly like what you asked for, and you use your car pretty frequently, but as time goes on you start noticing issues which kind of bother you. It's just too loud, the suspension is too stiff, and after 8 months of having ordered these modifications you decide to take your car back to the workshop and ask for other changes to be made, and when you get there the engineer says you can't make any changes because you got what you asked for in the first place. I don't think I need to say anything else to get the point across here. The thing is about changes, and the one big thing that ties my mind to those changes still, is how do my changes weigh up more positively than somebody who thinks the game would benefit heavily from the likes of LFG or LFR. I know it may seem like a crazy comparison, but it would certainly bring more people to the game. More people than it would lose? No, but you see what I mean, right? You have to take the good with the bad when it comes to Classic, is what I've concluded. It's an old game in its infancy, the most advanced stage of its infancy, but still there nevertheless. However, at some points you do need to consider that we aren't in 2007 anymore, and our servers are so much larger than they ever were in Classic. More consideration should be made to balance the game around these two factors, rather than adding anything from later on in the game. Blizzard have already taken steps to do this with PvP changes so far, but more could be done. If any changes are introduced, they should fit the game today to solve modern issues, rather than seeking to make it more similar to TBC or Wrath or whatever version of World of Warcraft that you like best. And this makes me think once again back to old school RuneScape, where they have a polling system for anything new to be added into the game, where if something receives more than 75% of community votes, it's put in the game. Anything below, it fails and is scrapped. To be honest, this system has shown its flaws over the years though. Players divide up into groups like kids in a schoolyard and downvote anything they don't like, rather than basing their views upon whether it would improve the game in any way. If we had voting in Classic, it's already Horde vs Alliance, isn't it? And you can bet people would downvote anything PvP related because of Phase 2, and that pretty much everything PvE related would pass. I don't know if it would end up being such a good thing after all. Which brings me back around again to why is X change more beneficial than Y? It's pretty much a loop argument really. Who mediates whether it's in good interest for the game? Short of a change.org petition or something crazy, I don't think drastic change is all too likely. And that's all we have for today, just a quick video on some of my thoughts, but I feel that this topic is important and that quite a lot of people are sort of behind this motion in some sense. If you disagree at all with anything I said, absolutely let me know below. I always love answering and looking at comments where you've actually disagreed and have something to say other than "you're bad, mate." We have a great game on our hands. It could be even better. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. If you like what you see, give the video a like and subscribe, as there's plenty more to come. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Bye.